What's up, everybody? It's your boy Season. So today we've got another Transformer review. Now, I don't do Transformers too much on the channel, but I'm willing to make an exception for this. This is MPG-09 Super Ginrai. I've been waiting for this one for a long time. This was from one of my favorite Japanese series, Transformers Super God Masterforce. So we're gonna be taking a look at him today. So let's not waste any more time. Let's go. All right, so let's see what we've got for this guy. So of course, we've got the two shoulder cannons here, the two faces. One is anime accurate and the other one was toy accurate. So you got those there. Looks like you got two fists, the Shogoken power thing here. So he's got that, the two parts for the shoulders there. He's got his two guns for Ginrai, and then that's probably for Super Ginrai there with the trailer. Looks like you have the effect part for the rifle, and then Ginrai himself. And then you've got two versions of Ginrai. So you've got the one where he's crossing his arms. He usually would scream out masterforce and he would transform. And then you've got the bigger version that probably is the engine that connects onto this there. So you've got those, and then we've got the manual here. And it looks like you get those spec cards probably. So you got that there. Also, it looks like you get some stickers in here. So we'll go over some of this later. And this is probably just to have it to be more toy accurate. So it looks like it's a cross to where you can have it to be any way you want. So if you want it to be more anime accurate, like myself, then it looks like you can do that. Or if you want it to be more toy accurate, you have some of the details and stuff like that the original toy had. So that's what we've got for these. So what we'll do is we'll do the manual first, and then we'll take him out. So we'll take a look at the manual next. So let's take a look and see what we've got in this manual here. So let me open this. Oh, I ripped it. All right, let's see what we got here. So, of course, you've got your stickers here. Now, this looks like this is to make it more toy accurate. I don't really care about that personally. I wanted mine to look more anime accurate, so I probably won't use this, but this is cool that they actually put this in here. So that's what you got for that there. You got your tech specs card for Super Ginrai, so that looks pretty cool. Let's see if we can see some of that there. So that looks pretty cool. I haven't seen one of these tech spec cards in quite some time. So, all right, let's take a look at this manual here. Now, the thing about Super Ginrai, this was the only Optimus Prime type toy that I had when I was a kid. So we didn't know anything about Masterforce or Headmasters or Victor. We didn't know any of that back in the 80s because there was no internet. We didn't know what was going on in Japan. So it's nice to finally get a upgraded version of this. Now, I remember that when they were doing the poll for the next masterpiece, it was Super Ginrai and Star Saber and a couple of other ones during that poll. This is probably about 10 years ago, actually a little bit longer than that now. And Star Saber won out, and I voted for Star Saber because Star Saber is one of my favorites as well. I could get into the history of as far as how I came into knowing about Japanese Transformers, but it would take me a lot longer than this segment will allow. But you know, we've got a lot of stuff here. It doesn't look like it's going to be that complicated. So, because some of these masterpieces can be a little on the complex side, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case here. So, we've got all of that. But yeah, so the only other Optimus Prime light figure I had was the Ultra Magnus, which is pretty much like the Diaclone powered convoy. And I used to use that one as, you know, in the season 3 of Transformers, where Optimus Prime is coated in white. when he puts on that metal for the whole hate plague and all that stuff. That's what I used that one for, because I didn't know about Diaclone. We didn't know about none of that in the 80s. So it's really nice to get a good look at this. And I never did get the Apex armor. That wasn't a thing in the 80s either. I don't remember seeing anybody that had the Apex armor, or God Bomber as they call him in Japan. So, you know, it'll be interesting to see what we've got. All right, so now that we're done with the manual, we'll take Ginrai out and we'll put the cab on him and we'll see what he looks like. Now for his cab, you know, of course, like I said before, the wheels do spin. He's a little bit on the small side. I'm actually quite surprised, especially compared to like the MP10 or the MP30 or something like that, like the other Optimus Prime. This one is a little bit on the tiny side. So unfortunately, I have all my Transformers boxed away, so I won't be able to compare them, but you know, but it does look good. It looks like it's got its head in there and it's wrapped in plastic, so, but we'll do that when we get to the transformation. But it does look solid. Now you do get two versions of Ginrai, right? So you get this one, this is the miniature one, and then you've got a little bit bigger one. That's the one that actually will become the engine. So pretty much what would happen is when he would transform, he would cross his arms. He had these two bracelets on and he would scream out Master Force. It would kind of give him this bodysuit, body armor thing, and he would cross his arms and then he would jump out and then he would become the engine. So that's what this one is supposed to signify there. So let's get a little bit closer on that. So the detail on it is actually pretty good considering, you know, so it does have decent articulation. You're not gonna get anything super crazy out of this guy. It will move up and down. You can move the shoulders up and down like that there. So, you know, that's cool. You can't really move the head at all. And then of course for his legs, he's got a little bit of articulation there. And then of course, in order to form him into the engine, if I remember how this used to work, you would kind of do this and then you'd spin this. Boom, like that, and like that. Boom, and then you would turn around and then he would become the engine. So he'll go on here and then that's how he would start to his transformation. So it does look like he has some feet here. I think I just had them in here. Let's see. But you got this here and let's see. Yeah, he does. Just take that and move that down like that there. So that's what you've got for Ginrai. So not too bad. I'm kind of surprised, you know, with the figures that I mess around with, they tend to be a lot more complex, but this is actually quite simple. So, but I do like it. It definitely looks like Ginrai. So, and I really like this one. I think the crossed arms one, that one, let's see if I can get that one focused here. I really like that one. Now this one doesn't have any articulation at all. He's just kind of to stand there, or you can put him in the cab and then have him in there. But I really like this one. I would actually just have him kind of like that if I was ever gonna have him in vehicle mode. So, so that's what you have for the cab. Now we'll start doing his transformation. So let's get to that next. So he looks pretty good. Now, for this part here, you're gonna want this to go back in here, and I'm gonna tell you why here, because what it is for the cab part here to lock into place, this piece has to be in there. So and a lot of times this will like to shoot out or it'll fall out because it doesn't really lock in there that good. But you see how that piece right there comes down, and then you take that and you slide that in there, and that kind of keeps that locked together. So that's how that works. So that's the reason why you have to have that in there. So he looks pretty good, I must admit. And we will do a little bit of his articulation real quick. But so let's take a look at Ginrai's articulation real quick. Now for the head. The head, he can spin it 360. So it will go up, way up, and that has to do with his transformation. But it doesn't go down at all. So you can't really get any side to side articulation. It's just kind of up and then his regular look. So I don't know if I like that. And then the ears don't move or anything like that. Now, since this is really more of like a transformable toy versus like a figure, I'm not gonna judge this one as harshly, but even still, that kind of articulation would have been nice. So that's what you've got for the head. Now, for the arm, he can lift this up, all right, way up, as you see there. So that's really good there. He can spin this 360. Now, because of how he transforms, the one thing that I don't like all that much is because there's not really, since these two are connected in the back, this tends to like want to flop around. Now, it's not terrible, but anytime you're moving the arm, a lot of times that's going to want to kind of pop out. So, but you can put it right back in there. So that's what you've got for the arm and shoulder area. For the elbow, you can lift that all the way up. So that's a really good elbow bend there. So you've got that. No kind of movement really for the forearm, but you can spin it 360 here, right on the bicep. So you do have that there. Now for the wrist, he doesn't really have any side to side movement at all. He can move it up and down, but a lot of times when you try to move that up, you're gonna kind of pop that open. That's how his arm goes in for the transformation. So, you know, but you do have a little bit of up and down, not a ton, but you have no side to side at all. So that's what you've got for the wrist. For his ab articulation, he does have a good ab crunch as far as downward, no real upwards mobility, no side to side mobility. He can spin it, but I would say right around this part, I don't know if I'd want a chance trying to spin that 360, but you know, he can get anywhere between 90 degrees and 180 as his Ginrai just pops out of his back. That's one of my many issues with this guy, but you know, it's not horrible. All right, so he does have a decent articulation for the ab, not a lot, but a lot of that has to do with his transformation. So that's what we've got for ab articulation. For waist articulation, now this is interesting how they did this. Let me get his arms out of the way. Now, of course, he does have kind of like a front skirt here, and these will move independently of one another, even though it's kind of hard to get your fingers in there, but these will move up. The mid part doesn't really. Now, the parts where the wheels are, there's a little tab here so you can connect this, but in order to get the articulation out, you're probably gonna wanna have those out, but they are a little floppy. So I could tell if you put a lot of strain on that, that probably will break. So you don't wanna mess around with that too much. And then for the back, there's not really any kind of back skirt or anything on the back there. So he should be okay for that. So that's what you have for the waist articulation. For the leg articulation, now this is interesting how they have this, all right? Because you've got kind of like a drop down, but I would say there's not a lot of resistance there. So especially when you're messing with this guy, it has this almost like mini swing bar, but not really. So it's kind of like pseudo or like a fake version. I've seen that done better even in models, but that's not horrible. So you've got that, and then it's connected to this ratchet here. So you've got that there. So for his leg articulation, of course, he can lift this up like that. He does have a semi-decent knee bend. So you've got that. Now, of course, normally with most of the figures that I do, you want more of a V more than an L. But you know, I'm not as gonna be judged as harshly since this is more of like a transformable toy more than like a super high-end figure. So, you know, you do have that there. Can he do the splits? The answer is yes, he can. So that's not gonna be an issue for him there. He does have movement here at the top of the thigh. So you can rotate this 360. So that's good. That will also flare in and out, okay? So you've got that for the legs. Now, for the feet, this is where things get a little interesting for me. So what happens is, in order to get his articulation, when you do his transformation, you have to pull this out. So that's what you've got there. So you've got decent side to side, and you even got a decent up that way, but there's no down. There's no down. Now you can move the toe, because this is where the split, where the toe is right here. But you can move the toe down, but that's not really gonna help you, because that's not gonna give you the downward articulation that you may need, especially when it comes to standing and stances and stuff. You kind of want that, but the side to side is actually pretty good. So I'm not gonna take away too many points for that, but you know, that's what he's got for the toes there. So that's what we have for articulation for Ginrai. Not terrible. I've definitely seen worse, but I've also seen better as well. But I think, considering what it is, I don't think that this is bad. So now what we'll do is we'll get out his trailer and we'll transform that into the base before we do Super Ginrai last. So what we're gonna do is we're going to transform him into Super Ginrai first. Originally, I was going to transform him into the base mode first, but it's actually a lot easier to do it from the Super Ginrai form. So we'll do that last, but let's transform him into Super Ginrai. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take this out. We're gonna transform him now. With this guy, for truck mode, he pretty much is the same. Really, all you're doing is folding the legs. However, when you fold the legs, you want to make sure that you're moving the legs up, not necessarily the knees, because you want to pop them out like that, but you don't want to move the entire knees like that, because it won't fit in there. So what you want to do, I've found that the easiest way to do this is to kind of hold the knees relatively in place and then try to move the legs like that. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna put this tab into this hole here. So there's the silver tab on the back of the smokestacks, and that's gonna go into this little hole here. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take that and put that in there like that. So you have the knees at that angle, it's not super far up, so that should slide in there, because if you don't do that correctly, it won't go in there properly. So that's what's all you have for Ginrai, and he's pretty much ready. So now let's get to the trailer. All right, so for the trailer, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this, lift this up, yeah. We're gonna take these sides here, pop this out, and then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take this, move these up out of the way. Then we're gonna bring this back over. We're gonna fold these flaps back this way. Do the same for this side. Okay. So we've got that. And we're gonna take this, push this down. There we go. Have that separated. There we go, just like that. Do that for the same on the other side here. All right, so we're gonna lift that up. So now he's broken apart. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this and we're gonna flip this way. All right, take that, flip that way, do the same for this side. All right, flip that way. Then we're going to take the arms. We're gonna take these and rotate these to the sides, just like that. Then we're gonna take those, move those down. And then we're gonna take these two parts here and we're gonna move these, and these will snap into place on the sides. There and there. So we're coming along, we're just about halfway through. Then we're gonna take these side panels here, move these down. Okay. Do the same on this side. There. And then you want to make sure that these doors are closed as well, so those fold in on themselves there. Then you want to make sure that these two pieces here are folded in. And we're going to take this, move that way, and then you're going to take this move that back that way. Then we're gonna take the back part here, fold this in like that, and then we're gonna raise this up. Then we're gonna spin this around. Let's raise this up here. We're gonna take this, and this is gonna fold in on the inside, just like that there. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna open this back up, and then this is going to go that way, and then this can go back in there, and that connects to the back in that plug right there. So then we're gonna flip him over, and as you can see, he's starting to come together. I'm gonna take the headpiece, flip this up this way. Then we're gonna take the arms, and we're gonna split this here. And then what this will do is we can get the hands out. So we've kind of got it like this. All right, and then make sure that that goes in that slot there. Boom. Close that back up. All right, so let's shut that, and then we close that. That's his arm. Let's do that for this side. So we're gonna split this. All right. And we're gonna open this part here so we can push that down, close that, snap that in. So we've got his arms like this. Then we're gonna take Ginrai. Now this is where things get a little interesting. Now what it is you have these holes here, 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 and here. And that's where Ginrai will slide in. If this is done correctly and you have him correctly like this, this will slide in all the way down. So we'll take this, push that in. You wanna make sure that that's down, the front part there. All right, that slides in just like that. Then the head comes this way, just like that. Spin that around. And even though I don't really like how this head thing is attached there, how that wants to pop like that, but we'll work on it. So there you have him in all his glory, Super Ginrai. He looks amazing. He looks really good. He pretty much looks like he stepped out of Masterforce. So I'm gushing, especially as someone who had this when he was a little kid. This is amazing how they did this. So he looks really, really good. Now, the one thing that I don't like, let's move this up a little bit. The one thing I don't like is as far as this whole part of how his head comes down, you have to get Ginrai in there perfect. If you don't get him in there perfect, this is not gonna wanna stay in place, and it'll keep popping off, popping off, popping off. So you have to really make sure that those knees, or that you're not moving the knees when you bend his legs. You need to actually bend the legs in there to get that to work properly. But I am gushing. This looks awesome. So he's got two different versions of his head. Pretty much the anime versions are the ones that have the blue eyes. So he gets two versions of that. All right, so he gets that one and that one. And pretty much the only differences that I can really see between the two is that in the anime, he had it to where it was slightly more round around the nose part, to where this one is a little bit more sharper like we see with Optimus Prime with Transformers the movie. So, you know, of course, depending on who drew it in Masterforce, you saw both of them. So they give you two different versions of that. And then you do have the toy version, which has the red eyes. And I remember that distinctively, that they had the red eyes in there. So those are the two different versions. Now, in order to take his head off, what we're gonna do, because actually we'll transform him into the toy version here, is you're gonna take this and really his head slides off there. So it's not really difficult. You just take that, slide that off, and then we'll put the toy version on there. And let's get this stuff. There we go. And then we just slide that on there, and boom. So they look very, very similar. Now, if you want to turn him into the toy version, we're gonna actually have to do some things here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take these side pieces off, just like this. I can get my hand in there. Take those off here, and then that would be where he puts his guns. So you would actually have that there and there. Put that here like that. Okay. So he's got that there, and then you would get his guns up. Now, also the thing about the anime was that in the anime he had red hands with kind of like the blue cover on it, versus in the toy version he had blue hands. So kind of like traditional Optimus Prime. So what we'll do is we're gonna take these out here. All right, and then you see how that kind of just slides off there. And then we'll take these blue ones here, and those just slide right into that slot there. And I'll just take that, push that down in there, push that back in, boom, like that. And then we can do the same for this side. So we'll open these arms here. Slide this out. He's on a little bit of a slippery base, so take that, push those in. So we'll take that, slide that in, turn that around, back into place, boom. And that is the toy version. Looks really, really good. Now what we'll do also is, because I want you to see his kind of like Chogan power, is we're going to put the guns on. So we're gonna open this up here, and we're gonna turn his hand, and then this of course is gonna go in like this. These are the big versions. Okay, put that in there. We can fold that down just like that. And then we can put Chogan power. It's pretty much like in a like electric shock or something like that. So we can put that in there. There we go. Let's put that back in his hand. There. Do I have it locked in there? Okay, hold on. All right, there we go. All right. Boom. And there, so he can use that. He can also use the electric shock pieces. He can use that in his hands as well. So what we'll do, we'll take this one out, and we'll grab this other piece. And then that goes in there just like this, and boom. And boom. So that's kind of like his electric shock attack. So this is really, really good. Now, I like the fact that they made it to where you can have the anime version or you can have the toy version. I think that that's a really good bonus for this guy. Now for me, since I'm always a stickler for anime accuracy over the toy accuracy, but for people who really loved the original Super Ginrai or Power Master Optimus Prime, you can have that version as well. So I think this looks really, really good. I am really impressed with this guy. So next, before we transform him into his base mode, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna go through his articulation, because I think having his articulation is gonna be important. So let's do that next. So now let's take a look at Super Ginrai's articulation. Now for his head, he can look slightly up. He can look slightly down. He does have kind of like this lever, so you can kind of bring this up if you want. So if you want to look way down, you can do that. And then of course, but you'll have to be cognizant of this piece here, because this piece, I don't like how they did that, even though he did have this kind of setup in the anime. But you do have that. He can spin it 360. He's got some side to side there. Not a ton, but he's got a decent amount. So, you know, not too shabby. So that's what you have for the head. Okay. For the arms, of course, he can move this all the way up there. So let's take a look at there. So that looks really, really good. He's almost hitting his head there. So you've got that part there. He can spin this 360. You'll just have to watch for the back of the calf there. So you kind of have to move his arm a little bit, but you can do that there. He does have a spin at the bicep. Okay. So he's got that. He's got a decent elbow bend. Not great, but not bad either. So you've got that there. No real spin, just because of how his transformation works and the fact that his hand goes inside his forearm here. So there's not really any way that you can move the forearm. All right, you would just be moving the whole arm like that. So you've got that. And then for the wrist, he does have some in and out movement. Not horrible, not great. What it is this piece actually goes in like that to kind of get that. So that's pretty cool. No upward down mobility, unfortunately. It looks like it just goes from side to side, and it's really just this part here. And then it goes right back to the normal slot. And that's just because of how the transformation works. And the fact is that he's got a connection right here. So unfortunately, you can't move it in the other direction. So you've got that. He's got articulated fingers. He's got the 3-1 split. So these will go in. He's got the pointer finger. So if you want to do the point, you can do that. And you've got that. And then the thumbs do move. All right, so those can move in and out. So you've got that hinge there. Not a real hinge here. So this top part doesn't really move, but you can get some movement out of that thumb there. So that's what you have for the hands and the arm. For the midsection, he does have a decent ab crunch, so he can move this in. And what it is it's this back piece here that's lifting up there. So that's what you got that. So that's where that downward motion comes from, but he cannot look up. Okay, there is no side to side as far as the ab. That just has to do with the transformation and how the cab works. Can you spin it 360? Let's see. Yes, you can. So it does go 360. So that's what you have for the ab articulation. For the waist section, he does have these two front skirts there, and he kind of has side skirts, but not really. This has to do with his transformation, but you can lift these up like that if you want to. So you do have those for that side and that side, so that will move. Nothing for the back. The back is really kind of one solid piece, it looks like, so it doesn't look like you're gonna get any movement out of the back skirt there. But that's what you've got for the waist section. Now for the legs. For the thigh area, he can spin this part 360, so that's good. With the top part, you can go in and out, so you can do that. So can he do the splits? Let's get his arms out of the way. The answer is yes, and actually that's what his base mode will look like. So, so you've got that there. So you can do that. You can get some backwards movement there, but you're gonna be hitting the back of the backpack there. So you've got that. He can lift this up. So that's right around 90 degrees. I'd say maybe slightly above. And then for his knee bend, of course, this is on a ratchet. So you've got the V there. Not too shabby. I wasn't sure that he was gonna be able to do that. So that's what you've got for the knee bend there. And then for his feet, he doesn't really have that much articulation for the feet. And that just has to do with how this whole piece is connected together. I mean, if you want to get him to stand, you can kind of pull this to where it'll slide that way, like that. If you want to kind of do some dynamic posing, you can kind of do that. But to be honest, when you do that, a lot of times that makes him unstable. So you probably want the feet to be relatively flat. So that's what we have for his feet. So that's what you have for his articulation. Not too shabby, especially considering his transformation. I think that it's good. Could you get it better in other figures? I know that there's a lot of different versions of Ginrai for third-party Transformers, but like I've said in other videos, I'm not really big into third-party anymore. But I think for what this is, I think that this is pretty good. So now, lastly, what we'll do is we'll transform him into his base mode, so we'll do that next. Now, to transform him into base mode, we kind of have him in a semi-truck state. Not really. All I really did was take Ginrai out here, put the feet back how they were in trailer mode, and then pulled this part out. So that's pretty much all I did, and then I put his hands back in there. So what we're gonna do in order to transform him into base mode, we're gonna spin him around. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take these, move his arms up like this. And then we're gonna stand him up real quick. We're gonna flare these two side skirts out. All right. So we've got it like that. And then what we're gonna do is take his legs, spread eagle like that. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the feet, we're gonna unhook these slightly. Let's see if we can, there we go. And then do the same with this side as well. All right, so we're gonna take that. Then what we'll do is take this, spin this back around. All right, and then snap those back in like that. Spin that back around. Snap that in like that. So now pretty much you have him in this state with his legs spread in this. So you're gonna take this part here. So we're gonna take this part, we're gonna fold this in just like that, and then we'll bring that down that way. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna kind of bring this forward. So he's kind of sitting on it just like that. And then what we'll do is spin him around. And then we're gonna take this, we're gonna unhook this here. And we're gonna take this back piece and unhook that there, like that. And then we'll turn this back around, put this, hook these back together, like that. So he's kind of standing like that. Then we'll have this, flip this back around. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna fold these this way. All right, and then you're gonna turn down the ramp. So you got the ramps that on that side, ramps on this side. And then we're gonna take the guns and we're gonna put those in here. Let's see which one. We'll take this one, do the same. Then we'll take the two guns here and we'll put those on the sides like that. And then we'll do this, put that in there like that. Then we'll spin him around, and that is his base mode. So he did use this in the show. To me, it's, you know, it's another gimmick that he has. It's not my favorite, but it's not horrible either. So you can have that, and then you can set Ginrai up. You can have Ginrai right here. Let's see So you can have Ginrai right there. And so that is your base mode. Now, of course, once you get God Bomber, it'll be interesting to see if they do a base mode for him, because I don't remember in the anime if he had a base mode or not for God Bomber. But, you know, it is what it is. Now, the one thing that I don't like about this, the base mode, is that this part here seems to be a little floppy here. So I don't really like that all that much. So it doesn't really stick in there really good. That could just be mine though. But other than that, you know, you've got your little ramp there. So if you want to act like you're 5 years old, like we all used to be, you can do that. So very interesting base mode, but overall I do like this. So now we'll get into final thoughts. So, last thoughts on this guy. You know, this is definitely a blast from the past for me. This is the only Optimus Prime figure that I owned as a child, Power Master Optimus Prime. And he looks spectacular. He looks like he walked right out of Super God Master Force. They've done a spectacular job of replicating that look for this guy, and I'm really blown away at how he looks. So for the 8-year-old kid in me is definitely doing backflips right now. Now, you know, the thing about this figure, it's interesting because his transformation is relatively simple, and I wasn't sure how complex, because you know, masterpieces can be a little bit complex when it comes to transformations, but for this guy, he's relatively simple to transform. You do it maybe 2 or 3 times and you pretty much got it down packed. So I do like that. I like the fact that you can switch between, if you want the original toy version of Power Master Optimus Prime, or if you want Super Ginrai. I like the fact that you can do that. The fact that you got 2 different heads, the one that has the anime blue eyes or the toy red eyes, the fact that he has the shoulder cannons and all of that, and the fact that you get the Shogun power that he used in the show, I think is really, really something. It's amazing that they did this, and they did a very, very good job. Now, it definitely is not perfect, and I'm not going to judge this with a super harsh eye like I would for super high-end figures, even though this definitely was not cheap. But you know, it is a Transformer, it is a masterpiece, so I think they replicated it very, very well. But the problems that I have with it, number one, is when he's in Super Ginrai mode, the head that has to go over the legs, that thing is absolutely annoying. I can't stand it. If you don't have the truck mode, if you don't have those legs folded up in the perfect way and then have that slide down evenly, the head will not stay on. It will keep popping off. You can't get it to lock in there. And that is really, really annoying. It took me off camera, it took me quite a while to kind of get that lined up. And you really have to be careful with that. Also, how the legs connect to the back for the truck mode in this mode, you have to be very careful about those plugs that it connects to, because I don't know if that's die cast or if it's some sort of metal or whatever, but if you do it too many times and you're a little rough with it, I can see that breaking. So you definitely want to be cognizant of that. I would say my only other problem really is with like the engine part that Ginrai is in this mode. He's not in there very securely. Honestly, if you just touch him, that thing is falling out. And because the way that it locks on the sides and it locks on his legs. And unfortunately, if anything hits it, that thing is popping off and it will go flying across the room. So, you know, if you got dogs or anything like that, they may try to take it, you know, so you definitely want to be cognizant of that. Other than that, I think the thing about this figure that's interesting to me is that he does most things well, but nothing spectacular, nothing great. His articulation is better than I expected for a figure of this size for Transformers, but it's not great articulation. Like his weapons, of course, we got all of them from the original toy, but like with his ion cannons, those don't really securely fasten in his hands all that well. And especially once you start putting the blast effects and the Chogan power effects in those guns, that gives it significant amount of weight, and the guns will want to fall out. So you kind of do have to mess with that. Also, with his feet, I understand that this is the design, and so to me his feet needs a little bit more articulation, because even to do this pose here, to get him to stand up straight can be a problem. So you may want to get a stand for this guy. If you know, that would be my suggestion for that, because you really do have to work on the legs and kind of get it angled in a way to where you can get that weight even. And so, you know, that's another knock against it, but I do understand that that's the design, especially as the fact that I am a stickler for accuracy. This is definitely how he looked in the show. So I think that that's very, very good. So out of 10, I'm probably going to give this guy an 8.5. I think his look is amazing. You know, he doesn't have that many drawbacks, but the drawbacks that he does have, you know, especially with the head. I think the head for this, that was one that I took away a lot of points for, just because that you have to get that in there perfect. And if you don't, good luck, because you're going to get frustrated, because you're going to be like, why is his head always popping off? And I tried to put in sticky tack in there, nothing worked. It was just, it has to be lined up perfect. But I think overall, like, the regular truck mode is fine. The Ginrai mode, the regular Ginrai mode is fine. The fact that you get two versions of Ginrai, so you get the version that's the engine part now, and then you've got a mini figure of him. I like that. The fact that you can switch between toy mode and the anime version. Now, of course, for me, I like mine to be anime accurate, so I'm definitely going to keep him probably in this mode. But, you know, the fact that even if you didn't know anything about Masterforce and you kind of like just like the Power of Optimus Prime look, that you can go back to that mode as well. And so I think that that's really, really good. So, you know, thank you guys for watching the video. If you guys could like, comment, and subscribe. And we did hit 1,000 subscribers, so I want to give my personal thanks to everyone who is subscribed to the channel. This channel would not be going still if it wasn't for you guys. And I love hearing your comments, or I love seeing your comments. I love seeing your comments, and I definitely try to interact with as many comments as I can. And, you know, we're definitely going to keep going. Now, going forward, I have probably about 3 other figures that I'm going to be doing here in rapid succession. So I've got a lot of stuff to cover. So it might be a little while for those who really just watch my channel for Gundam. It may be about a month or so before I get back to Gundam, because there's been so much stuff that came out at the end of the year that I'm definitely going to cover. So, you know, that's what I've got for the review. So thank you guys for watching the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.